Okay, you can see I've cleaned this up really well. What you want to do is you want to get all the oil out of here, and you can use alcohol or anything else to clean that up real good, but get that really clean so it's not too slick in there, and you'll be ready to put your new seal in. Now, I went ahead and pressed my seal in there. It's not all that hard to get it in there. Uh, you'll notice your groove right here for the seal. It's going to be one of those little rubber seals. Anyway, your groove facing up, you'll put the spring side of your seal facing up. See? So with your groove facing down, you'll have the flat part of the seal, and the flat part of the seal will be pressed up against the wall inside this housing. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lubricate that seal a little bit and put it on here, and we'll be ready to put this back in. Okay, I got my O-ring on here, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and put a little bit of grease on the outside of this. I'm also going to put a little bit of grease on the inside of here to make this a little bit easier to drive in. And make sure that you've got your star pattern keeper here. Make sure that it's in here, because if you drive this in, you're going to have a hard time getting it back out without messing up that seal. But this will go back in here like this once I get the grease on it, and we're going to drive it back in. And if you made a mark, you'll drive it to that mark. I can't see mine anymore, but this keeper will stop when it gets to that point, so it shouldn't be that big a deal. Okay, I've got the keeper back in position, and you got to make sure that your O-ring is straight when you push this back in there. Now, if it is straight, you'll push on this, and then you'll feel a pop, and it'll pop down into place, and it should be right then. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a socket, and this socket just happens, it's a 34 millimeter. It just happens to fit right over that, just perfect. So I can take this socket, I'm going to put a little board on top of it and tap this back in here, and the seal retainer should go down. It'll be showing just a little bit where this groove is, but it should go down to where you can definitely feel it stop. Okay, that worked just like I thought it would. I drove it down, was easy to drive, definitely felt it stop, so it's in the right place now. I've got my star in there. Next thing to do is clean this outer ring up, put your new O-ring in here, and then we'll be ready to put this stuff back together. To be honest, this seal right here is probably the toughest of the three to keep straight and not pinch. So what I did was it's a little small to fit in that groove, so what I did was I kind of pulled on it like you'd stretch a rubber band. Not very hard, but just a little to give it a little stretch so it'll fit in that groove better. And now it's sitting in there just fine. You can see it sitting right there. And I'm going to put these two pieces back together, put my bolts in, and then we'll be ready to insert the power steering pump. Alright, the vacuum pump's back together. All you got to really worry about is lining your star pattern keeper up here and getting your studs right. And it'll be the same thing putting your power steering pump back in. When you're putting your power steering pump back on here, also be real careful to keep this seal where it's at. You're going to have to put that power steering pump on carefully, and make sure you're going straight at it and in the center so you don't knock this seal loose, because that's the most important thing. That's the reason for doing all this when you change your power steering pump. Okay, I got this back together. Went together pretty easy. Just kind of line up your shafts and make it look close to right, and then you can turn this just a hair. Turn that gear just a hair and it'll pop in there, and then you can put all your bolts back in and get them tight. Now don't forget, when you're bolting this back to the engine, you've got a new gasket for the front, so don't forget to put that on too. I'm going to go ahead and put this back in there, hook all the lines up, refill it, and see if we're not working.